Hello there, and welcome aboard another episode of Design Studies with Katori87. Today's episode will be taking a look at assorted destroyer designs and specifically investigating the effects of different gun selections on the effectiveness of destroyers from the time period of approximately 1912. So I have here a selection of destroyers right here that have been built with 1912 era technology. So they're rocking a nice collection of 5-inch, 4-inch, 3-inch, and various mixed collections of firepower there on a standard 900-ton hull, 30 knots, and a decent selection of torpedoes so they can fulfill their primary purpose of sinking enemy capital ships with torpedoes. Well, that said, let's take a look at the designs that we have here. First up, we have a design with 3 5-inch guns. These guns are a little bit big for the 900-ton hull. We do have a slight rate of fire penalty with them, but they do have longer range and they pack a larger punch than smaller caliber guns. So I figured it was worth taking a look to see how effective these 3x5 collection would be. I do not expect it to be the greatest, but you never know. That's the purpose of testing these things. I did load it up with the maximum number of 5-inch guns that I could fit on the hull, though. So if I go beyond 3 5-inch guns, it says the hull is overloaded and will not let me build the design. Next up, we have what I consider to be a much more reasonable design, a 4-inch armed destroyer, rocking 4 4-inch guns. Once again, this design is maximized as far as the number of guns that I can fit on there. But unlike the 3x5 design, this ship has one more gun on the center line, running into my maximum center line weapons limit. Hence, I had to take one of the twin tubes and split it up into 2 singles so we can see those hanging out back here. Again, it has one more gun than the 5-inch gun equivalent, but they're of a slightly smaller caliber. My general experience has been that 4-inch guns tend to be the best bang for your buck. But again, we're going to try this out and see what happens. My final all-uniform armament design is a 3-inch armed design, this time rocking 5 of them. Unfortunately, I was still running into centerline armament issues, so I had to split one of my extra gun, got split up into a 1-2 arrangement, giving me a 2 forward-firing guns at a much earlier time than we would otherwise ordinarily see that. So I'm very interested to see how this design works out, especially in night combat, where we spend a fair amount of time chasing down the enemy with only bow guns. So this definitely has an advantage there, and we'll see how that works. I did have the option of doing the 1 and 2 arrangement for the 4-inch guns as well, but I decided to focus on the centerline armament for that one. Also, because of the 3-inch guns, I was not able to slap on enough weight to properly use up all my displacement, so I bumped up 2 of my wing-mounted torpedo launchers to twin tubes. So this one has slightly more capital ship killing capability, but it does not have as much overall weight in main guns as the other ships. Let's see. Last up, I had some mixed bags. So we've got a mix of 5-inch and 3-inch guns. So I took the 5-inch design, dropped off the 1 5-inch gun, and put as many 3-inch secondaries on there as I could. Honestly, this is a very nice looking design overall, and it's one that I probably would use in an actual game due to its effective mix of firepower. This one is particularly interesting because it has the long range of 5-inch guns, but it also has the greater firepower, or the greater rate of fire of 3-inch guns, and probably just as significant, the mixture of primaries and secondaries means I am essentially rolling twice as many dice as a all main gun design. They roll their dice once per turn and that's it. Whereas this one rolls the dice twice per turn. Sure, it's a slightly lower odds per roll due to the smaller number of guns, but you never know. I think that that will work out fairly well, and it has proved to be successful in the past, so I have high hopes for this design. Lastly, I decided to take the design to the extreme with the mixed collection of 3-inch and 2-inch designs. So this one has the 5 3-inch guns that my all 3-inch gun design had, but I dropped off those 2 extra torpedo tubes and replaced them with an equivalent weight of 2-inch guns. Now, 2-inch guns are very, very light. They are basically, well, actually in-game, they are the smallest caliber of gun that you can get. They have very short range, very weak impact, and yeah, they have no armor penetrating capability whatsoever. However, they may actually prove effective at night combat, because that's another thing that we're going to be taking a look at. I intend to test both daytime combat and night fights, since both of those are relevant. Alrighty, well, now that that's all set, let's get this initial thing set up. I'm going to set up my first fleet exercise, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, and we are back. So I'm setting up my first round of fights. This time's going to be the 3 5-inch guns versus the 4 4-inch guns. So I have control over the 5-inch gun ships. I'm going to see if I can keep them at a slightly longer range and try and take advantage of that against the enemy 4-inch gun ships. But as always, this is a fairly small sample size. We only have 6 ships. We're only going to be running this test once before we move along. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully luck doesn't play too much of a role in this. Hopefully we get a fairly decisive result. Alright, let's go. Okay, we are in combat, and I am seeing clear weather, light breeze, so we shouldn't have too much issues there. Let's see our effective gunnery range. Come on. I don't care about air ranges, but I do want to see my gun range. Why is that not showing up? Ah, there we go. Okay. Now we've got our gun ranges. So sighting range, gun range, torpedo range. Interesting. Torpedo range is a little more than my gun range. Okay, we've got enemies in sight. And for now, we're going to see what they're doing. Looks like they are running away. We're going to turn north, squad max for engagement, and here they come. Okay, they are in range. We're opening fire. Time to turn to keep things open. So this is the sort of engagement that I could reasonably expect between destroyers during a fleet engagement, where there's sort of skirmishing back and forth. Oh, looks like we got a few torpedoes in the water. Oh, one of our ships is starting to lag behind. I'll flop her over to AI control. Try and tell her to follow up on this. We'll see what she actually ends up doing. See if we can cut the, there we go, cutting across, and now they're breaking away. So basic idea behind destroyer fights is we're trying to keep our broadsides on them, keep our arc of fire open, while we're trying to minimize their arc of fire. So right now, I'm probably not doing the most opportune tactics here, where we're basically in a straight broadside slugging match. That's fine for battleships, not so great for destroyers. technically the best thing that I should be doing is trying to weave across their sterns. Not only does that minimize the opportunity for them to torpedo us, but it also minimizes the number of guns that they can bring to bear against us. But it looks like things are not going very well for us. And here comes night. And I suspect that that's going to be about the end of things. Oh, we'll just drop down to cruise. In fact, you know what? We'll drop down to 10 knots. Just to see if we can reunite everyone. Doesn't look like we've had any significant losses here. Yep, there we go. All over. Looks like no... Well, we did lose one. But overall, fairly indecisive. Quick review of this. And we're looking at... Let's see, overall, as far as hits scored... Wow, that's not even a whole lot of hits. Not very many at all. Turns out these things are pretty fragile. Okay, so we're seeing some medium hits on these. 2 hits, 5 hits. All things considered, it's looking fairly evenly matched. How did this thing get sunk from a single hit? Alright, there we go. Magazine hit. Okay, so that was pure dumb luck in that case. That ship got blown up. So we will disregard the overall results from that, but it does look fairly consistently like a more even spread of damage across my ships, aside from that one that didn't get hit at all. And then the 4-inch gun ships, well, it's a lot less even. I'm seeing 100s and 500s. So much less even results there. Anyway, we're going to call this one to a close, and we're going to try again, this time from the opposite perspective. And we'll get the next fleet exercise started up. Okay, here we go. One more test set up. This time I'll be taking control over the 4-inch gun ships, facing off against the 5-inch gun ships, and we'll see how things go. Once again, same basic idea. Our goal is to just run this out and see how quickly we can get this decisive result. So we're going to pick up to squad max, see if we can close in. And I'm actually going to see if I can do a little bit more stern camping here. There we go, they're definitely in trouble there. Saw some good exchanges of fire. And I'm totally losing track of where my ships are. But it looks like, at this point, well, one of them just blew up. That is always a distinct possibility in these games. Running low on ammo, getting into the close night fight. Oh my. And then, of course, we get into the absolute mayhem. Collisions. And that is the sort of chaos that we like to see. This is quite nice. I actually get to see both daytime and nighttime fighting. Well, right up until the point where we lose track of them. Alright, well, we'll pick up the pace a little bit. Call this one to a close. Alright, well, that did not go over very well. Not only did we lose a ship due to a random explosion, we also had a number of collisions. Alright, well, let's take a quick look at the statistics here. So, sorting by gun calibers once again. We're seeing lots of light caliber hits on these 3x5 ships. We're looking, okay, that one was sunk. Oh, okay, that makes sense. She got hit by a torpedo. But she also took 8 light hits, heavy damage, 9 light hits, heavy damage, 3 light hits, medium damage. Whereas here we're looking at 2 medium hits, heavy damage, 2 medium hits, light damage, 4 and 5, and these ships both got sunk. Now granted, one of them randomly exploded. So that was this one right here. Magazine hit, blows up. Yeah. And then we've got this one, which, oh my. So that is quite decisive right there, actually. I'm starting to see some significant trends. The 4-inch guns took a lot more hits to do damage. At least significant damage anyways. Let's see how this one did. Yeah, that's very interesting. Those 5-inch guns were definitely hitting a lot harder. Larger caliber guns was quite noticeable in this case. So sure, we got quite a few more hits, but they hit harder, and in a game of random chance, the possibility to do much more damage that's pretty significant. Alright, well, our next check is going to be 3-inch guns versus 5-inch guns, and I will be right back. Okay, here we go. This time it's going to be the 5-inch gun ships facing off against the 3-inch gun ships. So let's see how that works out. Okay, here we go. Padlock the view, fastest available speed, and let's see what we find. Unknown ships sighted. Got them in sight. We'll go up to squad max. And we just kind of run around lobbing 5-inch shells in their direction until we get a hit of some sort. And of course, running low on ammunition. Oh, one of us got hit by a torpedo. Come on, turn already, why don't you? There we go, getting into the night fight portion. Well, that was interesting. Let's see how things worked out here. So we had one ship take a lot of damage. Well, yeah, she got torpedoed, so that totally makes sense. Then we have some heavy damage based on 3 3-inch hits. Let's see, what are our hit rates? Alright, so we sort by ship type. I can see wow, we had terrible accuracy this time around. I think we got only 3 hits total. Yeah, I think we're going to try that one more time, this time with a more broadside-oriented approach. We'll be right back. Alright, so we're going to try this one more time. I think the last result was due to terrible tactics on my part. So we're going to try this one more time, this time with a more broadside-oriented approach. Hopefully this will result in a more even exchange of fire so we can see how this actually works out. Alright, once again, fast available speed, padlock, and there we go, enemy ships in sight. Alright, that seems to be a much more decisive result here. Rather than milling around in confusion, we have successfully been able to engage. Oh, and time to run. Drop back down to cruise. Fast available speed, let's wrap this up. Yep, and there we go. Let's take a quick review of the stats here, and well, okay, sorting. Alright, so it looks like, honestly, a fairly even exchange of fire in this case. And we also have one torpedo hit, so yeah, that was decent. But it looks like, despite the even exchange of fire, excuse me, looks like things worked out slightly in favor of the 5-inch gunned ship. So that's very interesting right there. Now, we didn't really get a whole lot of night gunfire engagement, and I haven't dove specifically into the hit chances or anything like that. But let's try this one more time from the perspective of 3-inch gun ships, and then we can move on to our next matchup, and we'll be right back. Alright, one more round, this time with the 3-inch gun ships under our command, just to see if that has any effect, and we'll try and knock this one out pretty quick. Alright, accelerate to attack speed. Just gonna interrupt things a few times as we get our initial sighting reports. Seeing lots of good hits going back and forth. And one of us got hit by a torpedo. Oh, come on. Where's the actual group leader? I can't actually tell. There we go. Well, that is not going well at all. We got our butts kicked. I'll see if I can simply chase them and use those 2 bow guns to good effect. Well, it looks like we got annihilated. Alright, quick review. How did things go? Well, aside from this one, which probably blew up. Oh, no, she took a torpedo. Okay. Looks like the rest of them got absolutely hammered with 5-inch guns. Yeah, look at that. 12 hits, 14 hits, 12 hits, 9, 12. That was really bad. And that was despite me closing into a closer, more effective range to try and get those 3-inch guns to bear. I wonder if the 5-inch guns were just that much more likely to hit at the closer range. We did still score a number of hits on them, too. Oh, come on. We torpedoed the guy and he survived. Boo. Alright, but overall, looks like we did not score very many hits on them at all. So yeah, we're looking at some very low damage rating. Only almost 700 on this one because of the torpedo, but everyone else got away very, very light. So yeah, lesson here. I suck at destroyer engagements, and don't let me drive destroyers. I think that's a general overall lesson because most people seem to struggle with their destroyer fights unless they have significant material advantages. Alright, well, let's get our next round set up because we still have some mixed firepower boats to test. So, we'll be right back. Alrighty, we are back, and this time we're taking up, again, the 3-inch armed destroyers, but this time it's the mixed bag. So they've got the same armament as before, but they've traded out a couple of torpedo tubes. Actually, a couple of extra torpedo tubes that the other ships don't have. They've swapped those out for some 2-inch guns. So we're going to see if the extra firepower from 2-inch guns is enough to turn the tide here. And also, I think I'm probably going to turn control of the fight over to the AI, because as we have seen, I suck at commanding destroyers. Alright, let's get this party started. Here we go, we're all the way in. View is padlocked. And there we go, enemy ship sighted, accelerate to squad max. And let's put these over on AI control. Oh wow, nicely done. And then it reverts to manual control. Okay, back to AI. So we got a very nice crossing the T there. Got the enemy on the run, and they are now out of range. Turn to close, broadside engagement. Honestly, this AI is doing a much better job than I am. Oh, lost one. Still. We're keeping our ships together. We're getting some good concentration of firepower. And this AI is honestly doing a very effective job. I think that's probably an important lesson to learn there. Let the AI drive your destroyers. They tend to do a better job of it. Oh, There we go, closing in. And, well, looks like we've lost them. There we go, we're over halfway through, so I'm just going to call this to close. Alright, well, let's take a quick look at the stats here. And if we sort by ship types, we can see that, let's see, so first of all, the 3x5s. Well, we did get a number of good hits on them. But damage-wise, I don't know. I don't think that worked out in our favor. And in fact, the scorekeeper tends to agree. Even though they did a very nice job holding things together, I think that those 2-inch guns did not really play much of a role. Let's take a quick check here, see if we got any 2-inch gun hits. Yeah, no, nothing but 3-inch. So those 2-inch guns did not get to come into play. I will consider that an unsuccessful attempt. Alright, well, we'll try that one more time, except this time we'll swap out and try it from the other perspective, and we'll be right back. Okay, we are back. And while I was setting things up, I realized that there's not a whole lot of point in doing another rerun of the mixed 3-inch and 2-inch ships, since that was basically optimum engagement conditions, and it was not decisive in any way, shape, or form. It was completely neutral. Swapping it around the other way, I don't think would reveal anything additional. So we're going to try, this time, the mixed 5-inch and 3-inch guns versus the all 3-inch gun, or versus the all 5-inch gun armament. So we're pitting 2 5-inch guns and 4 secondary 3-inch guns versus 3 5-inch guns. That, I think, is a more reasonable engagement. I think those 3-inch guns actually have the reach to maybe contribute something. So we'll see if that's a worthwhile endeavor. Alright, and here we go. Okay, enemy ship sighted. We're going to accelerate to squad max. And actually, I think I'm going to let the AI take control again, since they did such a good job last time. There we go, decent broadside engagement. Working out to long range there. Ultimately, we need to be at a closer range, but we have a positional advantage. We're in front of them, which means we get to launch torpedoes and they don't. Again, this AI never ceases to amaze me as far as destroyer handling. It may not be the best when it comes to battleship tactics, but they sure do seem to know their destroyer stuff. Alright. Looks like my force is starting to break apart. That's not a good sign. Once again, though, we still have the positional advantage. It looks like they have decided to disengage. Honestly, a fairly sensible decision if I do say so myself. Oh, stop reverting. And, well, looks like we've lost them. That is a lot of destroyers that we have lost. Oh, no wonder they're in not the best formation. That would explain why. Well, there we go. Victory for the enemy side. Let's take a look at the results here. So I'll sort this stuff out. Looks like we got a decent number of 5-inch hits on both sides. Although, it does look like, as expected, having fewer 5-inch guns was not great. We got less hits on them. Yeah, rounds fired. They were definitely slinging a lot more ammunition our way, at least as far as that stuff is concerned. We did get a number of 3-inch hits, so that did play an effect. Let's see what kind of results we had. Well, decent structure damage. Not a whole lot else, though. And torpedoes launched. Okay. Only one 3-inch hit. What did that even do? Yeah, negligible results. Alright, well, it does look like having fewer but larger guns is a significant thing. I wonder what would happen if I was rocking 2 6-inch guns as opposed to 3 5-inch guns. But I didn't really design anything like that. So, who knows? Alright, well, I think we're going to call things to a close here. There's definitely an advantage for the fewer number of larger guns on destroyers. And that's even before we start getting into the fire control upgrades. Now, once we start getting into the 1920s, 1930s, we start getting multi-barrel turrets. That's a different story. We may need to do some additional testing in the late period once we have advanced fire controls for destroyers, multi-barrel turrets, and other options like that. So there are definitely other configurations that I have not tested, and I haven't really looked at early destroyers like Legacy and pre-Dreadnought era destroyers either. This is very solidly in the middle of the Dreadnought time period, where it looks like big guns are the decisive factor. So I hope that helps clear things up as far as destroyer designs go, at least within the Dreadnought design period. Again, we haven't there's plenty of other considerations as far as destroyer designs go as well, so none of these ships carried any mines. None of them were really built for any secondary purposes either. So I have definitely not maxed out their torpedo capacity. I have definitely not done any development towards anti-submarine warfare stuff. And those are all other considerations that we would have to be dealing with as well. Alright, well, I think we will call things to a close here. Until next time, this is Katori87, signing off.